Hello and welcome to Ex Fide Bibles. My name is Ethan. So today I have a how-to video for all of you new rebinders out there. So today I'm going to be going through how I do corners, how I fold and pleat corners. So this was actually a request from a viewer a couple of videos ago, and I thought I would weigh in. So I have a couple covers here that are works in progress. As you can see, the hubs have been done, the stamping has been done, and I'm in the process of doing the fold over. So you can see this cover here, doesn't have the edges folded over. So I'm going to be kind of giving a short explanation and then doing, one of my corners live on a customer Bible to show you how that is done. So one of the keys to getting really consistent corners on Bibles is making sure that your radiuses that you use for your liner and for your cover is correct. So this isn't a great example because I haven't trimmed this the outside edge of all of this yet on this Bible. But what I do is that when I measure out my cover leather, I give about 1/16 of an inch between where I truly want my cover leather to end and where I actually cut my cover leather. So I give a little bit of wiggle room there. And that is because when you are skiving a cover, especially on a leather like this, which is very flexible, you'll experience stretching of your leather. So your leather will stretch out and it'll become like kind of wavy, along your edge. This is a good example right here. You can see this is kind of wavy. So your cover leather will stretch out as you skive it, and you'll need a really consistent cut to then fold over. So I give a little bit of extra room, about 1/16, and then once my liner is glued to my cover, I will cut that 1/16 of an inch off, and then recut out my radiuses along my radius for my cover leather here. So the way I get this correct is that this is a set of leather circular punches, and you can see like there's a bunch of masking tape on these. So I figured out which one of these radiuses work really well with certain foldovers. So on my batch of February Bibles, I am doing a 5/16 foldover on all of them, and I'm using this radius here. Not this one, but this one. So I have all of these little cutters numbered 1 through I think it's 8 or 9. And I have in my notebook, which radius I use for which Bibles. And it's a really good way to keep track of kind of like a lessons learned. Like you want to see what works and then what doesn't work and be able to correct, as you continue in the hobby of Bible making. So I used this radius for all of my liner corners in all of my January Bibles, and I found that it worked really well. So I'm continuing that and doing that for here my February Bibles. And I can actually measure these for you to know exactly, like if you wanted to go to a hardware store and buy washers, you could know like exactly what size to get. So this is what I use for my liner, and this is what I use for my cover. So the trick to getting this really correct is figuring out how much you want to fold over, and then making sure your radius all the way around your curve matches your fold over. So I haven't trimmed this cover yet, so I can't really do it live for you. But once I do trim it, the idea is that you want the edge of your fold over on the edges to be exactly the same as what you would want your corner to be at like a 45-degree angle. So that's the trick, is making sure that you don't have too much leather right here. Because if you see some like really novice rebinders, they'll get that measurement incorrect, and you'll have too much leather folded over at a 45-degree angle in your corner. Like you want your pleats to be you want the radius of your pleats when they're folded over your liner to be like the same curved radius as the you want it to match like the edge here, and the edge here, you want it to be nice and gradual. So with this one, sorry, I have a cold, so I'm kind of sniffly here. This one is exactly 1 inch in diameter. So the liner that I'm using here is a 1 inch in diameter stencil, or it's either 1 inch. It's either 1 inch or like 30 seconds. And then this one, so I have it marked here, 5/16. So I know like for future Bibles, if I'm doing a 5/16 fold over, this is my cover leather radius that I want to use to get a nice pleats. So yeah, the other one was about 1 inch, or maybe a little bit shy of 1 inch, and this one is 1 3/4. And I found that works. So we can get into the actual. So those are some tips and tricks, just briefly there, how to measure everything. And obviously, skiving is a really important part of it. Like you want your edge leather can be a little bit thicker than the pleats for your corners. I would recommend, like, assuming you have like the amount of control over skiving, if you have a good command over skiving, your corners should be a little bit thinner than the edge of your cover. So, all right. So we'll get into the actual. We'll get into like more of a live video here on how to do these. So this is a customer Bible I'm doing. This is a Chevrolet goatskin cover in burgundy with aniline calfskin liner. So trying to figure out a good one to show you guys. This will be a good one. So what I do, how I do this, there's a couple of tools that I use. Where is it? I have this little awl here that I use. That's one of the key tools that I use. And then I actually use an X-Acto knife. This is super sharp. So I actually don't use, obviously, the edge, but I use kind of the Tanto style, like the Tanto style edge here. This is going to be kind of, oh yeah, that looks good. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it here. Kind of get some stuff out of the way. All right. So for doing this, there's kind of a sweet spot with how much glue that you should use. If you find, obviously, that your pleats are not sticking very well together, and if you find that that means you don't have enough glue. But if you have too much glue, it's going to be gushing everywhere. So, and it's best when you're doing this. It's best to clean up your glue as you go instead of just letting it glob on there and just worry about it at the end. So you kind of want to do cleanup as you go. So I'm applying a little bit of glue in my corner there, just enough to like evenly coat everything. Where'd my lid go? Oh, yeah, here it is. And PVA glue doesn't glue immediately, so I can do some explanation while this is kind of sitting here a little bit. So the trick to a really good corner is that you want to, there's kind of different levels, right? So if you're around like 5 to 10 rebinds, what you want is consistency. and what you want is for you to make sure to really get down like your radius and get down your radius and make sure that you're not folding over too much leather or too small amount of leather. When you get to so once you pass like 10 or so rebinds and you start getting really comfortable, I'm around 40, but there's still some things that I definitely need to improve on. Once you get to kind of to maybe more of a novice level and less of a beginner, there are a number of things like you can start focusing on. Okay, I know how to pleat. I know like the technical aspect of pleating corners. Like, how do I get it the most consistent between Bibles? So at my level, what I've been focusing on lately in recent Bibles is making sure like I don't have pleats like up here on the edge. I want pleats to stay like right here around where your liner is actually, starting to radius down at a right angle. So when I was around like 10 or so rebinds, I was doing pleats like way up here or way down here, and even that like inconsistently. And that I've kind of moved past that, and I'm trying to figure out like, okay, how do I get like really consistent pleats? How do I make them very uniform, etc. And that doesn't mean that I don't, make mistakes. I definitely do. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started here. So if you can see right around here, you can see that the cover leather is starting to move into the radius. So that's really where you want to start. Really where you want to start folding. You don't want to start folding too far away from the corner. So to start my pleats, I put my awl like underneath my cover. That's actually too much glue here. I always have a thing of fine-tipped Q-tips at hand to clean up glue as I go. So how I start this is that I start my first pleat, making sure it's where I want it. And then I quickly kind of abandon my awl and start doing this just with my fingernail and this X-Acto knife here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to be away from my mic, so just, I guess, watch and observe. So hopefully you could see it there. What I was doing was I was pulling the leather so that it would pleat, and then I was kind of putting my fingernail over the pleat and then holding it down. And what that does is it allows you to get really, really nice small pleats. So once I do my after I do my initial round of pleats, what I do is I go through, and this is kind of where my awl is helpful. I'll go through and press down like the valleys in between each pleat to make sure that the glue up in here is making contact with the liner and with the cover. So one thing I do too often is I take my bone folder here and kind of make sure that up in here is fully pressed into the liner. And obviously I need to, clean up my glue, but I think that that's a pretty nice looking pleat. What do you think? So that's how I do it. I've been doing it this way. For a while I was doing it with two tools kind of throughout the process doing the pleats. But I found that once I got better at skiving, once I was able to get really thin skived corners, the little fingernail method was really helpful for me. So again, what I was doing was I started my first pleat with the awl and kind of like hooked it under my cover. I hooked it under my cover and then I pressed that in, held it there for a minute, and then I switched to my little blade here, which this is a dull edge. And I was making my pleats, and kind of when I would pull a pleat towards my finger, I would kind of roll my finger onto it and hold it down with my nail. And then afterwards, I was going in and pressing the corners or the edge to make sure that the cover was connected. So, but I'm happy with that pleat. It's not the best I've ever done, but if I can get 4 pleats that look like that, that's a quality result that I'm happy with giving a customer. So yeah, thanks for watching. In the comments, let me know if you have any questions regarding folding corners, how I do things, and all of that. So again, a couple things to summarize here at the end. The key to getting good corners, a lot of it is technique. Skiving is a very, very big part of it. If you don't have a well-skived corner, your pleats are going to be really chunky looking. Skiving is really important, and also the radius that you use. If you can get the skiving down and the radiusing down, you can really advance very quickly with your corners. I mean, I've seen guys who have really been practicing and really making sure that they do everything really well. I've seen guys do better corners 40 Bibles in, than I around like 10 or 15. So, that you can really learn a lot and advance very quickly in Bible rebinding because there are so many resources for how to do, this trade or this hobby. So that's what I want to do. I want to help people learn and make it easier, because I didn't have anyone helping me when I was just starting out. When I was, doing my first 5 rebinds, I didn't have a Bible Rebinder support group on Facebook. I didn't have, Jeremiah Payne from Frost Bibles doing complete, how-to builds on YouTube. I didn't have any of that when I was starting. So if you are interested in getting into Bible rebinding and trying it for yourself, you couldn't choose a better time than 2025. I'm dedicated to not having any secrets with any of the things I do, making complete transparency with everything I do. Like if you want me to show you exactly how I do my stamping or my hubs or my corners or my stitching, all of that, I'm willing to make that freely available for anyone. All I ask is support on YouTube, but that's how I do my corners. There's a lot of right ways to do corners, and that's just how I do it. So again, thank you for watching. My name is Ethan from Ex Fide Bibles.